Hello Internet friends, Uncle Gary here. Hey, today's project, I'm going to be taking and turning this boring looking kitchen and give it some pop, some pizzazz. And you know what? It didn't cost that much money, and I'm pretty sure that once you watch what I'm doing, you can probably do it too. So let's get started. The first thing I did was I went out to a home improvement store and looked at some of the ideas they had. So after going through and looking to see what backsplashes look like, I went through their inventory of what they had, and of course I ended up in the sale items. And I found this nice tile here for less than $5 a square foot. Now also, to make it look professional, I'm putting some termination strip on there, and I'm using a pre-mixed thin set this time. That's the glue that holds the tile on the wall. Works very well, a little more expensive. To cut the tiles, I'm using just my basic hand grinder, stone cutting blade on there. And here's some other tools. I'm using a small tile, so I got a small V's on the thin set trowel. That's to put the glue on the wall with. And this is a grout float. You're going to need that to press the grout down into the tile creases. Here's some other tools I have, and that scrubber little green scrub brush pad thing, that's going to be very helpful on this job. There's what I'm going to be cutting the tile with. My pre-mixed grout and thin set. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off the electricity because I've got to pull out all the outlets away from the wall so I can tile around them. Now, go out and get yourself some longer screws that fit in there because it's going to make it a lot easier when you go to put it back together. Scrub the wall down, get all the grease off from the wall because the thin set will not like to stick to the grease. So we scrubbed the wall down pretty good with some degreaser. It smells just like orange juice. This is where I am marking the wall out using just a basic pencil on the wall, on the painted wall, and then levels as a straight edge. Thought I already did that. Ha! There I go. Buy the longer screws is what I said. Now what I like to do is with this small mosaic tile, and to make a more professional look, I will tape the tile where I'm going to cut it because it holds everything together. Easy to mark too. Now this is a rental property and I'm going to try to charge more money for it when I get a better looking kitchen. Now the termination strip does make a nicer finish, and there's two types. There's metal and there's vinyl. Now I used the plastic strip this time. It's easier to trim and it is actually less expensive. Here's my thin set, which is the glue that holds the material on. We're going to use it to glue on the termination strip on the wall. And the tile actually holds the termination strip to the wall also, because the tile goes over top of that ear, that flange on the bottom. Now here I am starting off with a thin set, and I'm going to tell you right now, I put it on too thick to start, because when I squeezed the tiles down, I had thin set squeeze in between the joints, and that is not what you want. Because now you got to clean it all out, or it just looks terrible when you put the grout on. It was a rookie mistake. But guess what? I didn't do it a second time. And don't go crazy with the thin set. You only want to put on as much as you're going to use, because you don't want it drying out. Now, as you can see, I'm using tape to tape on the tile where I'm going to be marking it. Like I said, for twofold. It's easy to mark and it holds the little tiles in place when you're cutting it. It also helps so that little chips don't fly out, because I'm using a dry blade, not a wet blade. Now, if you see what I'm doing, I'm trying to make all the joints the same distance apart and make them all nice and level and straight. If you want a professional looking job, everything's got to look clean and straight. See, putting tile on the side of a wall, it's not that difficult. And there is an upside and a downside when you're putting this mosaic on. Like I said, watch the lines, make them look straight. When it's all said and done, I think this job cost me about $200 in materials. It would have cost less, but the grout is a little more expensive because I used pre-mixed grout. And it didn't go as far as I thought it would, so I had to buy another little bucket of it. Now, if I had used grout that I mix with water, which I have in the past, and I like doing that, it would have been a little less money. But the advantages with using a pre-mixed grout is normally you don't have to seal it because it's got the sealer already in there. If you mix your own grout with water, you're supposed to seal it. Now, if you're going to be away from the job site for any amount of time, make sure you scrape off that excess grout, because once it hardens, make sure you scrape off that excess thin set, because when it hardens, it's no fun to work with. Make sure that wall is nice and grease-free. Now I'm just marking a straight line from one upper cabinet to the other. Make sure you always measure twice. Because once you cut these tiles, they're cut. You might be able to use them someplace else, parts and bits of them, but when the tiles are cut, they're cut. Now, if you look closely, there's about a ½ inch up top underneath that range hood there that I'm going to fill with grout. Because I'm not going to cut a partial tile, try to split a partial tile in half. It's just as easy to fill it with grout. It's underneath the range hood. And you know who's going to see it? Not me. Also, to save some tile, I do not go that far below the stove. I'll go a few inches below, just so when you're standing there you don't see, you don't see any bare wall, but there's no reason to go all the way to the floor. You're just not going to see it. And on this bottom part here, this is where I start using all the little bits and chunks of tile I got left over, little pieces. I'm using the grout float to press the tile flat. Now here's what it looks like right before I'm going to grout. See, I put tape down, makes easier cleanup on the edges there. And I am going to use this pre-mixed grout. Now start with a small area, because here's something that happened to me that hasn't happened before. And it wouldn't have happened if I had the grout that I had to mix. This pre-mixed grout reacted with the stone in the tile, because there's glass tiles, there's ceramic, and there's stone tiles all mixed there. And somehow that stone tile reacted with the pre-mixed grout, and it's like it dried to it. I mean, just flash dried to it automatically. And it made it hard to scrub off, because usually you just take a wet sponge, dunk the water or sponge in nice warm water, you know, and just keep sponging off the excess grout. And as you can see, it's like, oh, look at all those spots. That grout didn't come off. And I fought with this grout quite a bit. It took me longer than it's supposed to, but that's where that green scrubby pad finally came in. And I actually used a plastic putty knife to scrape it off too at some points. But this is why you want to start with a small spot. You don't want to let it get beyond you're too fast. You don't want to get too far, because if something like this happens and that grout dries on there rock hard, you can't get it off. You just ruin the whole job. So. There. Nice clean joint, kind of. Well, you can see I let this grout set a little bit too long. See how hard I'm scrubbing at it? I'll get it off, but another rookie mistake. Remember I told you there was a little gap up there I wasn't going to worry about? Well, I had to take a plastic putty knife and actually press the grout in that wide gap up there. It's kind of relaxing grouting tile. You got to be on top of it. You can make a mess out of it. But you just work in small spots, clean it off, do another small spot, clean it off. You can get a nice professional looking job. Hey, if you like what you've seen in this video, give it a thumbs up. Hey, and leave a comment too. There's that, remember that green scrubby I was talking about? This is where I'm starting to use it. Here we go. Here's the finished project. Now that looks a lot nicer than when I started. Time to watch the skunk eat.